Vietnam, Canada agree on measures to boost ties. And later on in our crosstalk, blockchain opportunities in Vietnam. Hello there, you're tuning into another edition of BizLine here on VTV International. I'm your host Hoàng Hằng, and as usual, we will begin with some economic highlights over the past week. On the sideline of the G7 summit in Canada, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc and his Canadian counterpart Justin Trudeau had a meeting during which they reached a consensus regarding measures to step up bilateral ties across all fields, including clean energy, high technology development, farm produce processing, and innovation. Both sides highlighted the developments in bilateral friendship and cooperation, with the most noteworthy being the signing of the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership or CPTPP agreement in March 2018. The two leaders agreed to facilitate trade and investment and to coordinate the implementation of the CPTPP. Prior to this meeting, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc announced to businesses attending the Vietnam-Canada Business Forum that when CPTPP comes into effect, Vietnam would remove 100% of its tariffs on imports from Canada.
Thuế suất 18% trên cá hồi tươi, ướp lạnh và đông lạnh sẽ về không ngay khi CPTPP có hiệu lực. Mức thuế 31% đối với thịt bò tươi, ướp lạnh và đông lạnh sẽ về 0% trong vòng 2 năm. Mức thuế 34% trên tôm hùm sẽ về 0% trong vòng 3 năm. Vân vân. Những chỉ số này có thể nói là một lời giới thiệu để các bạn biết về các dòng thuế được cắt giảm sau khi chúng ta thực thi hiệp định CPTPP mà Việt Nam cũng như Canada chuẩn bị phê chuẩn.
Following CPTPP roadmap, the rate of cut import taxes will have increased to 85% by the 4th year and 98% by the 11th year. This is expected to further increase bilateral trade turnover. Experts have warned enterprises to be more cautious with their US dollars loans amidst a significant rise in the lending and appreciation of the greenback. Statistics of commercial banks show that despite a decline in dollar deposits, the dollar lending rate increased significantly in the first quarter. At BIDV, for example, dollar deposits in the first quarter dropped by 6.05% against earlier this year, while dollar loans rose by 4.01% to $4.24 billion US dollars. In addition, the value of US dollars has been appreciating significantly, and there are risks of more pressure on the US dollars Vietnam dong exchange rate until the end of the year due to the global market volatility and domestic inflation. The Saigon Hanoi Bank or SHB and Vietnam Technological and Commercial Joint Stock Bank or Techcombank have been assigned to provide support for projects signed between Vietnam and the World Bank. The assignments were issued by the State Bank of Vietnam. Accordingly, SHB will provide support for the project Medium Urban Development, while Techcombank has been assigned to serve the sustainable development of Da Nang. The banks are responsible for implementing provisions on the management and the use of ODA and preferential loans, using documents from the SBV and the Ministry of Finance, as well as following regulations of the World Bank. According to the Vietnamese Bank Card Association, Vietnam has distributed over 132 million ATM cards. Among these, 50 million are considered trash cards, or cards that go unused. The large amount of inactive cards is believed to be a result of competition between banks. Meanwhile, according to staff from the Vietnam Export-Import Bank Card Center, each card costs around 1.3 US dollars. Consequently, if roughly 70% of the 50 million cards are inactive, Vietnam has wasted about 4 million US dollars. In addition, this may lead to possible exploitation by scammers. Necessary actions are being considered by the government to minimize the number of these cards. More than 1 ton of lychees grown by Hồng Xuân Co-op in Hồng Giang Commune, Lục Ngạn District, Bắc Giang Province is about to be exported to the US. All lychees in this batch were grown using global gap standards. The lychees were carefully selected and processed and transported by air to Ho Chi Minh City for radiation. Vietnam is currently the largest exporter of coffee to Russia. In the first quarter of 2018, the number of coffee exports increased by 47.8%, accounting for nearly half of Russia's total imports. Last year, Russia imported nearly 190,000 tons of coffee from Vietnam, equivalent to $640 million. Currently, Vietnamese coffee holds a global market share of roughly 15%, and Vietnam is the world's second largest exporter of coffee beans, according to the Vietnam Coffee and Cocoa Association. According to recent reports, Vietnamese football fans have spent nearly $4,400 on booking tours to Russia to watch the upcoming FIFA World Cup 2018. According to local travel agencies, all tours to Russia were fully booked by the end of April. Russia is home to many interesting tourist attractions, and flights to the country are easily accessible. Local football fans have shared that the football tours will give them good opportunities to visit famous destinations. On average, one 8-day tour costs roughly 70 million Vietnam dong, excluding football tickets. Those are some economic highlights over the past week. Up next in our crosstalk, we will take a look at opportunities that blockchain technology can bring about in Vietnam. Blockchain is still a new concept in Vietnam. Most people associate it with cryptocurrencies. However, this breakthrough technological trend is, in fact, applicable in many fields as it provides high security and transparency. Experts say that blockchain can be a useful tool for Vietnam to leverage its development and to benefit from the fourth industrial revolution. So what opportunities can we gain from this technology in Vietnam? What are some of the obstacles for its development? And what measures can be used to address such hindrances? We will find out in this week's episode of BizLine. But first, let's learn what blockchain really is and how it works in the following clip.
How do you figure out if people you know through the internet are what they say they are? Are you sure product information such as origins, quality, or labels is true? Now, a technology can help you. That is blockchain. Simply explained, it is a series of continuously growing records called blocks. Those blocks are linked and secured using cryptography. The database is decentralized and open. That means the records are not stored in only one computer. No one owns or controls the network, but all participants can access those records in a transparent manner. Blockchain was initiated in 2008 as the underlying technology of Bitcoin, with the initial purpose of serving as a public transaction ledger of cryptocurrency without any intermediary.
In order to take deeper discussions on this topic, we invited to our studio today Mr. Kim Bo Ngo, blockchain advisor at M Blockchain and also name leader in Vietnam. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, some say that blockchain has ushered in a new type of internet of value. So what is your opinion on this?
I believe that's actually a very interesting way of looking at it. The old way, information was shared in the internet. But what really happens was you'd copy that information. When I send an email, you have a copy, I have a copy. There's nothing unique about it. And then as you forward it to someone else in your ecosystem, in your environment, there might be 5 copies, 6 copies, 7 copies. So the information is replicated. Whereas blockchain, the information is built on a ledger. So it's a one record. Although you see it and I see it transparent, it actually represents only one unique asset or information. That way, when we talk about money, we talk about assets. Let's say a special watch, for example, that information is recorded and you know very clearly it's unique. That's why we consider it as an internet of value, because now we can do transactions easily without worrying about duplication and fraud because of that.
Blockchain is still quite new in Vietnam, but we cannot deny that it can bring great benefits. So how is this technology beneficial to users, in your opinion?
So in general, blockchain is useful because it's transparent, immutable, and it's a different way of looking at data, all right? And the way you use it is actually what makes it revolutionary. We can use blockchain in such a way that the economy in the world is shared much more freely, much more openly. Let's use a simple example on a transaction, right? You and I would have to, I sell you my pen. Let's say I give you this, you give me $10. After I go home, I come back and I say, hey, I only see $9. What's going on? I come to you and I say, you only gave me 9, not 10. You say, no, I gave you 10. Now you and I argue. So we don't trust each other, so we use, let's say, a friend, a third person where I give the pen, you give $10. They look at it and they say, hey, I see the pen, I see $10, proper. Then he does a switch. I don't trust you, but I trust him. You don't trust me, but you trust him as the middleman. To do that work, he takes a cut, a percentage, a fee. In a blockchain world, you can do that directly now. You don't need this person. Blockchain came out because of the financial crisis, because so much power was given to the middleman, the bankers, the lawyers, whoever, who even if in the best of their heart, they try, and they try as they might, they may make a mistake, right? And no one can see it because they go, that's my information. That's one use case. If you apply a smart contract on top of that, you automate processes and you automate the outcome so it cannot be changed. Let's use an example. When you drive your car, you generate data. That information is taken and then it could be sold off for insurance, government, a lot of stuff. But you as a driver get nothing. You just create it. With blockchain, if done correctly, as you drive, you make money because you make data. And you can create it so that when you drive, every time you drive, you make $1 or you make 1 or 2 points, depending on how it's designed. And that points or dollar you can use for getting insurance, getting discounts, etc.
Now, which sector can blockchain be applied to, particularly in Vietnam?
In general, blockchain can be applied to anything that has to do with data, data security, transparency. In my personal opinion, where I think that it could be applied immediately and be very helpful, could be in areas of ID management, traffic, finances, even food security. So, food traceability, where did the food can come from? So some areas you can look at that Vietnam is exploring is areas in agriculture, food traceability, where did the coffee come from? How does the processing work? Anything to do with that kind of area. I think Vietnam has a lot of areas they can explore. I think people are doing research in a variety of areas, both private and public.
It takes only 2 seconds to scan a QR code, and consumers can have all the information about this mango from where it is produced to its cultivation standards and manufacturing process. Such information cannot be faked as it is stored on blockchain.
Chúng tôi rất hy vọng là với cái cách tiếp cận giải quyết từ những cái khâu mà đơn giản nhất cho tới phức tạp nhất như thế, thì chúng ta dần dần đưa được những cái sản phẩm thương hiệu Việt Nam, như con tem chúng tôi cũng ghi rất rõ là xoài Việt Nam, ra thị trường quốc tế. Và tại thị trường quốc tế, chúng ta hoàn toàn vẫn có thể là cho phép tất cả người dùng ở nước ngoài hoàn toàn có thể truy xuất nguồn gốc của cái sản phẩm của mình.
Although it is just a pilot project, it proves the usefulness and potential of applying blockchain in tracing the origin of farm produce. Earlier in April, Free Thai Agricultural Corporation signed an MOU with Lina Network on blockchain origin tracking for farm produce.
Ứng dụng vào blockchain trong về supply chain hoặc là trong cái chuỗi cung ứng cho nông nghiệp thì lợi ích cho 3 bên. Bên thứ nhất là người tiêu dùng họ sẽ được sử dụng những cái sản phẩm rất là minh bạch Thứ hai là bên doanh nghiệp họ sẽ được là các cái người tiêu dùng tin cái sản phẩm của họ. Về cấp quản lý nhà nước thì họ sẽ được phát triển cái ngành nghề mũi nhọn của từng cái quốc gia đấy.
Blockchain technology offers even more advantages for farm produce trade, such as smart contracts, which reduce the need for bank guarantees or third parties and saves time and cost.
Bên A, tức là bên ở Việt Nam, khi mà nhận được một cái chữ ký của bên B là đã trả tiền, thì là người ta biết rằng bên A đã biết rằng là bên B đã có tiền được giữ trong cái smart contract này rồi. Và chỉ khi nào bên A là gửi cái hàng là gạo đi sang bên B nhận được gạo và họ confirm thì là cái tiền trong smart contract bắt đầu được trả ra cho bên A.
Currently, the Australian Embassy and the Asia Foundation in Vietnam are working towards developing a blockchain origin tracking system to be used for Vietnamese dragon fruit exports to Australia.
In some countries, blockchain can be used to manage the national database and also public services. So in this regard, what potential does this technology have in Vietnam, especially as the country develops its e-government?
Countries that do kind of like that, you've seen it in like Estonia, where almost 93% of their population and ID or individuals are on blockchain, or the ID is on blockchain. How can that be useful? For example, when you go to a doctor in Hue, right? You come in, you have to write all your information. What's your name? Where's your family? Blah, blah, blah. You write it all down. But then you also have to write, what's your illness? What's your sickness? Blah, blah, blah. You might forget, right? Because you're from Saigon. You don't know all the information. Maybe you write it wrong. Every time you go to a different doctor, the system might not be good enough that the information is shared. So you rewrite it over and over and over. And not even just going to the doctor. Maybe you go to get your driver's license. You have to fill that in. If you have an ID, right, that is capturing that information, when you go through different parts of the ecosystem, let's say doctors, hospitals, whatever, that one information is captured on your ID. That ID and that information can be shared immediately, quickly, safely.
At a recent event, you actually said that Vietnam would be the flagship for blockchain in the region and could be listed on par with Silicon Valley, Singapore, China, South Korea, and Japan. So how did you come up with this statement?
Vietnam has a lot of strong individuals in this sector, right? In Vietnam, we have interesting projects led by very interesting people. But abroad, in Silicon Valley, in Singapore, a lot of the leaders are Vietnamese, or if not even just leaders, they're core members of these teams. Vietnam has that raw talent. It's hidden inside us somewhere. We're smart, we're industrious. Just have to make sure that we stay focused, make sure we're supportive, and we can easily challenge any of these guys. I think Vietnam has a very young and strong population who can quickly learn blockchain technology, right? And blockchain technology in terms of coding is one aspect. It's how you think. We are an outsourcing hub already. We touch many different countries and many different industries, from enterprise grade, right? Not just startups. We touch, the Ciscos, all the big guys, IBMs, etc. So our engineers can have a massive impact in the blockchain world. Maybe not necessarily in leadership, but in terms of peer coding power. And if we can take that R&D level, if we can take a strategic approach to help our individuals, our engineers to think strategically, then yes, we should be able to take the lead in the conversation in the development of blockchain.
Despite all this potential, blockchain hasn't been applied much in Vietnam. What are the reasons for this, in your opinion?
Blockchain hasn't been applied in a lot of countries around the world, let's be honest here. Mainly because of things like scalability issues, technology issues, mindset issues, and risk profiles. It is risky to change your system into something else, a new system, even if it's blockchain or not. When we talked about cloud computing, people were already going crazy about that. How do I have a central server to cloud computing? That was already complicated. And that had nothing to do with a mindset shift on how to use data and how to manage data. That's just purely moving central data to another form of central data somewhere else. That is the main challenge, is understanding the application of it, understanding a new way of thinking about it. And I guess the other aspect is encouraging the leaders, the engineers, the businessmen to think about it, right? if we are not sure how the framework will be, how things are going to be regulated, you don't want to take risks, right? I'm not going to try something if it's going to get me in trouble potentially. So we just sit and we wait. But then other countries or other places who are focused on that, they'll just start leaping ahead. Israel's a good example, for example.
According to insiders, investors are still hesitant to pour their money into blockchain in Vietnam, as the country has not had a legal framework to regulate it.
Có rất nhiều các dự án mà muốn phát triển ở Việt Nam ấy. Tuy nhiên rằng là họ đang không biết rằng là cái vấn đề đó trong tương lai là luật pháp Việt Nam sẽ quy định như thế nào. Cho nên là họ chưa thể đưa ra được một cái kế hoạch dài hạn cho cái phát triển blockchain ở Việt Nam.
Thực ra là các công ty blockchain là thường là có cái tầm hoạt động là toàn cầu. Tuy nhiên là những cái công ty mà có cái hoạt động lớn ở Việt Nam ấy, thì là có một cái vấn đề trở ngại về cái pháp lý nó chưa rõ ràng. Nó sẽ khiến cho việc là nhà đầu tư nó ngần ngại trong việc đầu tư, cũng như là cái việc người dùng cũng sẽ ngần ngại trong việc thử sản phẩm.
It should be noted that blockchain is just a technology. Therefore, its supervising agencies and the providers should always be on their feet.
If we focus on blockchain technology as a solution, it will bring about a lot of merit, regardless of the cryptocurrencies. So, if the government or regulator will start discussion or making a framework from the technology side, it will bring about great synergy, great merit for Vietnamese market.
Thống nhất những cái chuẩn chung thế rồi thì họ mới có thể áp dụng cho doanh nghiệp họ. Tách biệt rõ ràng ra với tiền mã hóa. Nếu mà cùng có những cái quy định mà đánh đồng chung thì rất là khó để mà cho những cái ứng dụng mà liên quan đến blockchain có thể mà đưa vào thử nghiệm.
Although there are no clear directions and regulations for using blockchain in Vietnam, experts say that the government is making positive moves to build the legal framework.
I heard very encouraging we will have a sandbox in Vietnam. We have been talking and advocating for a sandbox for more than a year now, 2 years now. So that seems to be happening. A fintech sandbox from the SPV, the State Bank of Vietnam, plus the MOJ, the Ministry of Justice, wants to do clear regulations on cryptocurrency. That's also good.
Deputy Prime Minister Vương Đình Huệ affirmed at the 5th working session of the 14th National Assembly that the government has asked the Ministry of Justice, the State Bank of Vietnam, and other related agencies to learn international experience on regulating cryptocurrencies and blockchain.
As Vietnam hasn't really developed its blockchain technology, it also hasn't built a legal framework to develop and manage blockchain. So what suggestion would you give regarding this matter?
I'd like to state first and foremost, I'm not an expert in this area. I'm not a policy expert, and I don't speak on behalf of the government in any manner. But through my experience within this industry, working in Singapore, in banking, and doing business in general, I guess the key thing is look at frameworks that are there to protect both the people and to inspire innovation for the future. In terms of businesses, you don't need to use blockchain in everything you do. Let's just first things first, okay? Blockchain is not there to solve everything. It is just one tool to help you achieve whatever you're trying to achieve. My personal opinion, blockchain will help you share and be more fair. All right? So some businesses don't like that because when you share, you make less money, right?
Okay.
I don't think that's the right mindset. If you think that you can expand the market, grow, then you can, encourage more people to spend. I'll just use one example, right? Let's use vehicle data, okay? As a car is driven, more data is generated. If one company gets that, right? No one wants to drive or doesn't want to share that information. I get nothing. I'm your product. I'm not even getting it for free. I'm giving you stuff.
Okay.
Right? But if I make money or I generate tokens, etc., I want to do more and I'll participate more.
Nonetheless, the country has seen a rise in startups using blockchain, even though the number of startups is still modest compared to the total startups in the country. What is your assessment about the potential of the Vietnamese market for blockchain startups?
Blockchain is just the big hot thing. I guess that's the key, right? People looking at blockchain, not necessarily because they need it, but it's because it's the hot trend. I think that in Vietnam, we just need to focus on innovation in general. right? Whatever it may be, in finance, in supply chain, whatever. And then you look at if blockchain helps you in that mission.
In March this year, Thermochain, a Vietnamese blockchain startup, successfully attracted $8.5 million capital from 50 domestic and foreign investors. Similarly to Thermochain, a number of Vietnamese startups have shown their interest in the field of blockchain.
In August last year, we did a Vietnam blockchain landscape report for the very first time. And at that point, there were only like 20 startups who were based in Vietnam. But I think after 6 months, when we updated the report this January, there are around like 30 plus startups who are based in Vietnam right now.
Currently, Vietnamese startups tend to collaborate with others to develop diverse products.
Chúng tôi đang làm việc với Big Bomb. Big Bomb xây dựng một cái sản phẩm trong cái ngành quảng cáo. Làm việc với Binkabi là xây dựng một cái sàn nông sản quốc tế cho cả châu Phi và Việt Nam. Ngoài ra còn có đối tác khác như là T-Food là làm việc về trong các cái chuỗi cung ứng về thực phẩm.
In addition, the Vietnamese market has also attracted blockchain startups from abroad. For example, Moon, a Korean startup developing a global e-transfer payment based on blockchain technology, has successfully called for investments to run its business in Vietnam.
The Vietnamese market has also attracted foreign startups that use blockchain. How fierce a competition is it?
Quite a bit, I think. I meet a lot of companies here who are setting up teams here. Most of it is for Vietnam's development power. Like I said, we have good coders, high quality, fast learners, economically competitive. So that makes it tough, I hate to say. A lot of people come to me looking for engineers. But that being said, the Vietnamese who stand up working for these firms get inspired, open their minds a bit, learn a bit more, and they can come out and do their own as well.
Okay.
But you know what? I personally think it doesn't have to be competitive. You know, the market's big enough globally. There's so much happening. You know, I think all the different projects should work together, sharing with their understandings. You know, there are many chains now, by the way. A lot of chains I help with, the group here called NEM. They're just one of many who are coming into this country trying to help inspire, you know, the next generation. And I think we all should be working together to create the right ecosystem to support the engineers, the businesses, the government, everybody, so that we all benefit from it.
What is your opinion about the ecosystem for startups that use blockchain in Vietnam?
I think the ecosystem in Vietnam is hungry, right? There's a lot of people who want to come here, and a lot of people want to give that support. You know, I see Vietnamese government trying to support it in different sectors. I've seen local entrepreneurs who were successful in blockchain supporting others here. I'm seeing projects like NEM coming into Vietnam, thinking of doing a blockchain center, guys from Korea who want to do the same. People want to come to Vietnam, right? We have that talent. We have the raw energy, young population ready to go. I think the ecosystem's good. I just think we need to look at frameworks to let people not worry about regulation, right? In a way they feel comfortable so they can focus on changing the world.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
According to a survey of more than 800 information and communications executives and experts by the World Economic Forum, it is forecast that 10% of global GDP would be stored on blockchain by 2025. Meanwhile, for Vietnam, Forbes has said that the growing number of startups in the long run will help strategically position the country on the global blockchain map. In addition, blockchain will become a key component in helping Vietnam become a hub of innovation for the developing world once appropriate strategies and policies are implemented. That's it for this edition of BizLine. For more of our programs and updates, please log on to vtv4.vn, our YouTube channel at VTV4Go. Thanks for stopping by and goodbye for now.